Hello, my name is Todd Smith, and the title of my project is From Lorax to Laissez-Faire, Examining Corporate Greed and Environmental Consequences. The agenda will be four main topics: the Lorax, the Gilded Age, character comparisons, and a conclusion. Let's get started. First up, the Lorax. The Lorax is an animated film based on Dr. Seuss's classic children's book. The story revolves around a young boy named Ted who embarks on a quest to find a real tree and discovers the Onceler, a mysterious figure with a tale of how the town of Thneedville became devoid of nature due to his business ventures. As Ted learns about the importance of environmental conservation, he strives to make a positive change and bring back the trees to his community, guided by the wisdom of the Lorax, guardian of the forest. Some key characters in the movie. First, we have Ted Wiggins, a kid who wants to impress a girl, but in doing so, he brings nature back to his city. We have the Onceler, old man telling the story of his past destruction so Ted can fix the future. We have Mr. O'Hare. He controls the artificial city of Thneedville and opposes environmental changes that hurt his business. And we have the Lorax, who speaks for the trees. He wants to conserve the environment and opposes industrialization. Some major plot points in the movie. Thneedville is a completely synthetic city that has to buy air from Mr. O'Hare. Ted goes on a quest to find a real tree to impress his crush. That's when he finds the Onceler. The Onceler tells how he destroyed the environment for his business, but comes up with a plan for Ted. Mr. O'Hare finds out about Ted's plan to bring back trees and does whatever it takes to stop Ted. Ted gathers support from the city to plant a tree and restore nature to Thneedville. Next topic will be the Gilded Age. The Gilded Age in America, spanning roughly from the 1870s to the early 1900s, was characterized by rapid industrialization, economic growth, and wealth inequality. Massive fortunes were amassed by industrialists who led to the rise of power through corporate monopolies. Despite the era's outward prosperity, it was marked by social tensions, labor strikes, and political corruption, eventually paving the way for progressive reforms in the early 20th century. Some key concepts of the Gilded Age. We have the robber barons. These men used any way to rise to power and build a monopoly in their businesses. While gaining wealth, they were less worried about their workers and the destruction they were creating. Next, we have the environment. There was a widespread environmental destruction due to unregulated industrial practices. Some ways that the environment was affected was through deforestation, habitat loss, and pollution to the air and water. And reform. Numerous labor strikes during the Gilded Age capitalized reform for better wages and working environments. Muckrakers exposed the corruption and injustices of big companies to the public to spur social change. Here's some photos that would describe the Gilded Age. Starting in the top left, we have a strike of factory workers. We have deforestation. We have pollution to the air through a textile mill. We have some elitists of the time. And we have a little boy who is working in a factory. Next topic will be the character comparisons. First character would be Ted Wiggins. The more knowledge Ted gained from the Onceler story, the more he wanted to make a change in his town. He realized the life he was missing out on because of Mr. O'Hare's business and practices. He brought forth justice for his town to start growing a tree and opposing the big business O'Hare created. I would compare Ted to a muckraker. Muckrakers found the truths about factories and exposed them to the public. Ted not only exposed Mr. O'Hare and what he was hiding, but also was able to rally the town against Mr. O'Hare for a better future. Next character will be the Onceler. The Onceler started his story as a man looking for a brand new idea to change the world. He invented the Thneed, and his company began to explode with profits. However, he did become too greedy and didn't recognize the damage he had caused to the environment. After his factory shut down, he remained in hiding until Ted convinced him to start planting the trees again. I would compare him to Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie had a humble beginning to his life living in the US. He eventually would make it big with his steel company, Carnegie Steel Corporation, and owned every step of the process to make his steel. In his later years, though, he sold his business and began to use his wealth and time to help others in need. Next character would be Mr. O'Hare. Mr. O'Hare is a wealthy man who controls the city of Thneedville. He rose to power by selling air to the citizens and controls the air supply of the whole town. He symbolizes corporate interest and greed over the well-being of the environment. Compare him to robber barons of the Gilded Age. Robber barons were powerful industrialists that used unethical business practices to amass wealth. Their pursuit of wealth is seen as greedy, and they lack social responsibility for their company's actions. And the final character will be the Lorax. Lorax is the guardian of the forest and advocates for the preservation of nature. He speaks against the Onceler's destructive behavior and tries to make him see his consequences. The Lorax wants the Onceler to take responsibility for his actions and realize that without the right resources, his factory would cease. I would compare him to the labor strikes during the Gilded Age. During the Gilded Age, numerous labor strikes erupted across the United States as workers protested poor working conditions, low wages, and unfair labor practices. These strikes reflected widespread discontent among workers and marked a crucial period in the history of labor relations, contributing to the eventual development of the labor laws and reforms in the early 20th century. Finally, we have our conclusion. First, quote from the Onceler. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. The Lorax imparts a powerful environmental message, cautioning against unchecked industrialization, deforestation, and corporate greed. It emphasizes the importance of individual responsibility in preserving nature and highlights the long-lasting impact of human actions on the environment. Thank you.